World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to World Pro Racing. This is the second edition of Mega Sprint Tuesdays, this time taking us to the Hungaroring. A very good evening to you all, wherever you are watching tonight here on ESTV, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, as well as YouTube and Twitch. It's a pleasure to bring this next few races along to you from the Hungaroring. Myself, Kieran McGinley, and Nicholas Hillebrand alongside. Nico, great to be alongside you once again. We had quite the series at Silverstone when we last raced for Mega Sprint Tuesdays.
Yeah, indeed. Silverstone was already very exciting and, a very fitting event to start all of this. I can't wait to get into the next round with you alongside me, and Hungaroring will definitely make for interesting racing action.
An historically narrow track, one track that's very difficult for overtaking. Nico, what does it take in these, especially these cars, to actually get a move done?
Well, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of spatial awareness, and, even more courage to just brake that tiny bit later than everyone else. And of course, we don't really have long straights here. It just takes a lot of consistency to just stay with your opponent through all the twistiness of most of the track, and then, just be at the right time at the right place.
Absolutely, and we'll see which drivers can handle that later on tonight. As it stands, though, we have a tie for the lead here in Mega Sprint Tuesdays between Mikael Mercia and Reece Spence-Robb, both on 84 points. So it's a pretty interesting shake-up of the standings here. Jan-Nicolas Erbrich in third place on 78 points. Then it's Clayton Bani on 73 points in fourth place. Tied with him is Czarnecki in fifth place. And Artur Czarnecki, let's talk about him because he had a very, very tough time at Silverstone, won a race, but struggled in his other two.
Absolutely, and that just rules out one of the big things here for Super Sprint Tuesdays. Of course, we have, a point system down to 30th place, but it all goes down with 1 point per position. So here, more than ever, even in these 20-minute sprint races where you have to overtake, every chance you can get because you just don't have the time to dilly-dally around, you still have to finish well and you have to finish consistent. So it's a big challenge for all the drivers involved and, of course, for all their cars involved as well.
Absolutely. And, of course, as you rightfully said, 1 point increments between each position, with first place getting 30 points and last place getting 1 point. That's all the way down to 30th place in the standings. We're seeing here Reece Spence-Robb now make his way all the way through this long twisting Hungaroring towards the back end of the circuit as we now make our way down towards turn 12. Of course, first raced here in 1986, and it was the first Grand Prix to be held behind the Iron Curtain all those years ago. Now it's a staple in the Formula 1 calendar and GT series as a whole, and has gone down as one very, very narrow circuit. There's lots of high-speed corners, and there's not very many opportunities to actually get a place and a move done. Down into turn 1 is probably, Nico, your best shot. Yeah,
it is at the end of, probably the longest straight that we have among this circuit. The longest actual straight for sure. The start-finish straight, after all, coming with 788.9 meters in length. So you have quite a time for a run-up and also a bit of slipstreaming, but for the rest of the circuit, you just have to position yourself perfectly the entire time, and also just make sure that you have traction whenever you come out of these slower corners, which we have quite a lot of around here.
We do indeed, and of course there's been a couple of redesigns of the Hungaroring since 1986, and when I say a couple, I really do mean a couple. There's been a bit of a reprofiling back in 1988 with turn 3. It now goes to that sort of downward swooping right-hander, but before then it used to be a really elongated chicane to really slow the cars down before you made your way up towards turn 4. And of course, back in 2002, before the next rebuild was made, this corner here, turn 1, was pretty similar radius to the final corner, as Ashton Cox then goes straight on and decides to abandon that lap time, parking it almost perfectly in the tyre wall there. And as well, you've got a reprofiling of turn 12. It's a 90-degree corner there now, rather than the snaking section all the way through in towards the long left-hander at turn 13. So not many changes over what has been almost 30 years and 40 years of visiting this circuit.
Absolutely. This just basic sequence of the track has stayed largely the same. However, it has obviously, due to that, it has not become less challenging whatsoever. A couple tarmac runoffs here and there, but at the same time, you constantly have to just focus so much to stay, well, to stay within the track limits. It becomes rather difficult to race on the limit here, because if you just misjudge it once or twice, you can instantly catch some of these track limit warnings, and it's definitely one of the tracks that you want to get a drive-through penalty at.
No, definitely not. And if you've not tuned into Mega Sprints Tuesdays before, well, where have you been? We've had the first lot of races. 3 races we'll get tonight, but we'll only have a 6-minute qualifying session coming up after this free practice session. So it's going to be really important for these drivers. They're only going to get 1 or 2 shots at putting a fast lap in. So we'll have to wait and see how the drivers handle that pressure as we watch Dean Villeneuve make his way now through turn 4 onwards then towards that long right-hander of turn 5, trying to make your way through here. It just seems like an age to get back onto the throttle again, using plenty of curb on the exit before we head towards the chicane at turns 6 and 7. High curbs here can unsettle the car if you're not careful, as we then make our way through this long flowing section through turns 8 through 9 through 10 and then through turn 11. I mean, Nico, the importance of setting up a car, you've got a long straight down towards turn 1, but then through this second sector there's a lot of fast flowing corners.
Absolutely, and I think you can really see what the drivers are going for here. We have Reece Spence-Robb, who of course last race already drove the Bentley, used the home field advantage, so to say, of the British manufacturer to its full advantage, but here, he's again in the Bentley, and I can absolutely understand why. As you mentioned, these high curbs sometimes, they can really upset the car, especially in that chicane that we have just at the beginning of Sector 2, and you really just want the car to take those curbs very, very smoothly, and the Bentley is absolutely enormously good at that.
Really is, as we watch Jan-Nicolas Erbrich then making his way through this chicane section of turns 6 and 7 before we make our way then through in towards the left-hander of turn 8. Through turn 9 we go, and it's a lumbering Bentley here, but as you said, Nico, it's pretty misleading when it comes down to handling. It's got the grunt and it can take a corner or two.
Absolutely, and as I said already at Silverstone, you can just throw this thing into the corner and it will grip and stay just mostly stable as well. So I can understand why people just choose this as the car of their choice.
Yes, as we see then Erbrich making his way through the penultimate corner at turn 13, onwards then towards the final corner at turn 14, just trying to get it nice and towards the apex as much as possible. You've of course got that little bit of Armco on the right hand side which starts around about halfway through the final corner, but it's a long right-hander as Erbrich crosses the line then. Last lap 43.7, so a bit slower than his previous lap, but he'll go for another run once again. David Ohak in the other DJ Racing Bentley making his way now in towards turn 1, and he's got the bright pink car behind him, and I think is going to be the Nissan, I think, of Silver Pyramids.
Yeah, and we can see already quite popular here. Actually, Aston Martin, so...
It is, yeah. I should have known. It's a bright pink car. It should be Renault Rossard. That's the rhyme you need to have when you go into World Pro Racing. So it is, of course, Renault Rossard and the number 690. There he is, the Estonian for the EuroRC.com. Aston Martin now making his way through turn 4, onwards then towards turn 5, and using plenty of curb. Now, this is something that may have been addressed and probably would have been addressed in the driver's briefing earlier on today, not so long ago. Track limits at this track will be certainly kept an eye on.
Absolutely, and you can also see already here Renault Rossard taking a quite different approach to this chicane here once again, and now trying to go for the inside of the curb, trying to go as far inside as possible and just keep it sort of steady there. And it's just very, very difficult to get that properly down the entire time. We also have this very cloudy forecast, so I think it wouldn't be too much alienation to expect, well, maybe 1 or 2 rain clouds along the way there.
Don't say that. Well, of course, in the top right-hand corner, you can, of course, see the weather forecast. It should stay cloudy through qualifying at the very least as Renault Rossard gets in towards turn 13, then running slightly deep into 13, but try and get an earlier apex or at least a better run up towards 14. But this is a corner that you really, really need to get spot on here. back onto the power, up the gears you go, smooth on the exit then as Rainer Rissar comes across the line then. 46.4, a couple of maybe of race sims going on in this late stage. Stephen Johnson 45.777 in the RDS Motorsport Aston Martin, 15th fastest in this free practice session. And it's going to be a bit hectic, Nico, because they've only got 6 minutes of a qualifying session followed by 3 20-minute races. Fast and furious, that is for sure.
Absolutely, and last week we already had the discussion, well actually 2 weeks ago, sorry about that, at Silverstone. We had around 30 cars there, and we already said it's going to be really crowded. You really have to find a good window to get these laps done in this short time frame that we actually only have. But at the same time, we have a bit of a shorter lap here. However, with 17, I think we're going to get a couple more drivers maybe in qualifying, up to like 20. We also have to consider that this track is also a lot smaller, a lot tighter than Silverstone, so I think finding your gap here will be even more difficult, if anything.
Yeah, just such a narrow circuit as well. If you come across traffic, there's really no way they can get out of the way unless they go off the track, and there's not many places you can really get off the track, maybe on the exit of turn 11, but then you pick up a lot of dirty track on the bottom there, lots of marbles getting onto the tyres as you make your way now in towards turn 12. David O'Hack in the number 13 DJ Racing Bentley making his way through the long left-hander of turn 13, followed quickly then by the long right-hander, the even longer right-hander of turn 14. Looking above from the helicopter camera here, you can see just how tight he's keeping to the Armco barrier, then onto the power once again, before he then comes to a stop and abandons his last lap time. Rainer Rissar coming round the final quarter then, currently 13th fastest in this practice session, goes 12th fastest with 46 I think that was. Kirsten Abey, and then making his way across the line, 46.4 is his best lap time so far. Can he go quicker than that? Comes close. He did actually, 45.6, but track limits would have got in the way, and just showing his frustration there at what is going to be a track that's going to be very, very strict on track limits alone. This is going to be a hectic qualifying session, only 6 minutes. We've got plenty of cars to find their way out there at a track that's just over 5 kilometers long.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for the drivers, and of course, as you just said, the track limits will make it quite difficult, because for a race, of course, it's a little bit more lenient there. It's not quite as easy with a lot of traffic and fighting to gain time, so maybe the track limits will be a bit more lenient there. They will go, no time gained because you had to back off because that car's right in front of you. However, here, you try to use all of the track, you try to use the maximum momentum to carry through all of the corners, and then just 1 millimeter too wide, your time in the top left corner of your screen, it turns red, and immediately you can just find yourself ramming that fist against the steering wheel. And, you have to go for the next lap, but sometimes you just don't have the time anymore.
And just as quick as this qualifying session will fly by, we are jumping straight back in as we see Jan-Niklas Erbrich then looks like he is the first car out there. And of course, it's a long outlap here, around about 2 minutes at the best of times to get yourself on the outlap. As you can see there's cars only just leaving the pit lane. Marquez is one of them then, making his way now on towards the circuit. And so the number 87 car of Elbrecht still in the pit lane, so maybe waiting for that traffic to really ease off a little bit, just try and find his own space out there. Meanwhile, Erbrich is the first car out there. He's in theory got that clear air as he makes his way through turn number 13.
Absolutely, so that is once again one of the best positions to be in, because of course you just have no one ahead of you unless Mr. Elbrecht now decides to get out of the pit lane, and he actually does, but I think Jan-Niklas Erbrich will be lucky there, will get past, yes, there we go, just before the pit lane exit, and will be able to start his first flying lap. And here we can see the nice onboard here, perfectly switched in, right-hand drive for this, and for a lot of corners here for a clockwise circuit, very well appreciated, I think, by a lot of the drivers of the Bentley. Late on the brakes here now, down to second gear, there we are, a bit deep actually. And, of course, it's still struggling for grip quite a lot.
Through turn 3 we go, and you can see how skittish the car was on the exit of turn 2 as you now go up the hill then towards turn 4, down a couple of gears here, down to third from 5th gear then. Try and be careful on the exit, then back up to 4th very briefly before you get to the long right-hander of turn 5. Uphill on the exit here, you see the car trying to swap ends on you as you're trying to put the power down in towards turn 6 and 7, riding those curves, putting a lot of faith in that suspension, then making our way through turn 8 through then turn 9. We've got to be really patient here. Let the car bite into the apex before you put the power down. Then through this long left-hander at turn 10, an even longer right-hander of turn 11. Down a gear to make sure the car actually does turn in before you go back onto the power. Use a bit of curb on the exit to open up the corner. Down now in towards turn 12. 90-degree corner here, using that curb on the inside. Just be careful with the suspension then. Down in towards turn 13 we go. And then long radius corner there. Put the power back on then. Up through first gear, through second. And then just about into third before you go back down into second. Through this long right-hander of turn 14. A test of patience of when to put the power down on towards the start-finish line. That's a lap of the Hungaroring. And Jan-Niklas Erbrich, 43.5 is the first qualifying lap of this session.
Quite a decent lap, but also very high on the pushing limit, honestly. You could see how the tires were barely able to keep the grip, how he was very often in first gear. Not something that you normally do very often with a Bentley, but he's just trying to get it frantically slowed down to turn it in better. And now we see here Sheldon Muscat actually with also a bit of a wild card pick, you know. Again, the Honda, not very usual sight for the European tracks, but only basically just over 3.5 tenths behind Dean Vella right now, who's in the Ferrari. Now is Marcus Marquez in the McLaren. Very well beloved as well, of course, for these twisty and turny little sections like Sector 2 of the Hungaroring. So we can maybe see, you know, just like the Ferrari, one of the mid-engine cars just looking a bit stronger here.
And then that Dextra Slovak Racing car and that McLaren, the number 15 of Matas Marquez, making his way through the penultimate corner, then onwards towards the final corner. And as you can see there, just in the top of your screen then, less than 90 seconds to go. So if you cross the line now, you've really only got a chance for one flying lap. Marquez comes across the line end to set a qualifying lap time. It would have been a 44.1, and it would have put him round about in that sort of 7th, 8th place range. Unfortunately for him, the lap was invalid.
Yeah, that is just one of the big things here, you know, like, that is definitely not a bad spot to be in. Just starting the race from the top 10 here, you already have basically half of it in the back, because overtaking is just so difficult here. But of course, you have to get that lap together, and just one little slip-up that we maybe saw towards the end of the lap from Matas Marquez, that is just enough to just completely rain on your parade in that sense.
It's just over 40 seconds to go then, and drivers crossing the line right about now. Jan-Niklas Erbrich being one of them, so he will get another lap on under his belt. Down into turn 1 he will go. He's got his teammate, I say teammate, David O'Hack. They're racing for the same team, but there are no teams in this sprint series, if that makes sense, here at Mega Sprint Tuesdays, as we watch Marquez making his way through that chicane. Onwards then towards turn 8, through then turn 9 in that McLaren, looking very well behaved, that McLaren making his way through now. A little bit wide on the exit of turn 9 then. Through turn 10 we go, then on towards turn 11. As you try and make sure the car sticks as much as possible. Taking a lot of curb on the exit then, down in towards turn 12, and the checkered flag is out. And so it will be the number 87 car of Elbrecht. It will be only one lap for him as he comes across the line, and it's not a valid lap, so he will start all 3 races from the back of the grid. How about Marcus Marquez then making his way in the Dextro Slovak Racing McLaren through the final corner at turn 14 and onwards towards the start finish line? Will he get a lap time on the board as he crosses the line? Yes, he will, and it's good enough for 5th fastest.
Absolutely a time to be happy with. 43.5 quite quickly here. And at the same time, once again, Roy Spence Robb, one of our 2 current leaders in the championship, well, you know, this little Mega Sprint Tuesdays championship, you know, also very, very desperate to extend his lead here, and 42.771 really putting in the big notes now. Let's see what Jan-Niklas Erbrich can reply with on his last run. Comes very cleanly out of the last corner, and no improvement, sadly. Or actually, would have been, but
it was invalid. Yeah, absolutely. So he'll be kicking himself about that one. David O'Hack came back into the pits. Here's Murcia making his way down through the final corner and onwards towards the start-finish line. Currently 9th fastest. He crosses the line and goes 8th fastest ahead of Slovanac then. Here comes Silva Pirmet, gets into the top 10 then. That'll bring it into what is always a hectic qualifying session. And Elbrecht went for the one and only lap time, and it came back to bite him.
Absolutely, and well, you know, that is just the risk in qualifying, especially in this short time frame. People are saying, you know, the Q3 of F1, 10 minutes, you barely have time there, but those cars are a lot faster around these tracks, and, well, these cars here with 6 minutes, you cannot imagine the pressure that these guys must be feeling.
So we've got 3 20-minute races coming your way. 90 points at the maximum on offer for these drivers. You get 30 points for a race victory. You get 1 point if you finish all the way down in 30th place. So as long as you make the checkered flag, really, you've got a good chance of scoring some good points. So keep your head down if there's a mistake. If you get spun out, keep going. That's the main thing. And one thing that's been brought in for this series, Nico, we'll brush on it quickly before the race starts, is how the stewards will be managing these races. The first 15 minutes of the race will be stewarded as normal. Penalties will be awarded in the first 15 minutes. However, if it's in the last 5 minutes of races 1 or 2, the penalty will be applied in the next race. And if it's towards the last 5 minutes of race number 3, it'll be a time penalty added to race 3. And we saw how much that shook up the order last time out at Silverstone.
Absolutely it did, and quite honestly, it's kind of like bringing a bit of a contradiction in the driver's mindset, because in the last 5 minutes, immediately you go to that moment, okay, 2, 3, 4 laps left, I have to make a move now, I have to risk it to get the biscuit. But at the same time, you just make that one little mistake, and suddenly, for the next race, if it ends up giving you a drive-through, you're completely out of it for that. So that's really something that the drivers will have to consider here as well.
They really, really will. And the most important point for them is making sure they are as consistent as possible with only 1 point increments between each position. It has really shaken up what the overall standings look like just after 3 races at Silverstone.
Absolutely. And, it was already unbelievable enough. I am looking at the standings here. Michael Mercier and Reece Spence Robb both joined at 84 points. Then, of course, Jan-Niklas Erbrich in third with 78 points. But right after that, we've got, again, same points after 3 races, 73 points. Barney and Czarnecki. Both with those not here right now, but still quite a good start. So whenever they turn up again, they will still be up for grabs for higher positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no sort of mandatory thing for the drivers to be here for every race, but they run the risk of not being a champion at the end if they don't compete in every race. So if that makes sense, answers on a postcard. But Nico, you've seen some good lap times out there. Reece Spence Robb looks like he's going to be one of the favourites to grab that win by both hands. But how will he do it all 3 races? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, that is one of the big questions, of course, and especially since it's a turbo engine, he will have to get away from the naturally aspirated engines, which luckily aren't too far at the front, but still, it's something to look out for, and of course, he has to nail the start completely, otherwise you can get really easily just rung up like in a fisher net in battles around here, and you just cannot break free. You want to get away as very quickly as possible, and yeah. If Reece Spence Robb can do that, we can only wait and see. So,
and it's a mix as well over these Tuesdays of GT4, of GT3. One make showdowns can be also on the cards, as well as heavy rain. Who knows what the drivers could be thrown at here, but the most important thing is the top 3 in the point standings at the end do get recognised with a trophy being sent their way. So it's a perfect opportunity to show the drivers and prove their worth. Whatever scenario is thrown at them, they can handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And quite honestly, trophy alone, if I had known, maybe I would have driven myself. However, to be honest, I wouldn't pass up the chance to be commentating this amazing stuff with you. So
to be honest with you, Nico, whenever you race and I commentate, I seem to put a curse on you where you don't actually make the finish. So it's probably wise that if I'm commentating this, you are in the commentary box. So it's great to have you alongside as well.
It seems like the safer spot here.
For sure, but especially while I'm up here, for sure. But of course, as well, if you take your fancy here at Mega Sprint Tuesdays, it's not too late, of course. You can head over to worldproracing.com/events for not only seeing what Mega Sprint Tuesdays is like, but seeing what else is on offer. Recently announced the Rookie Series, which allows drivers who maybe haven't had a chance to throw themselves into the deep end in multiplayer races, who want a safe environment, a professional environment with stewards around them to show them what they can do and give them that stepping stone that they need and the confidence boost to make that next step forward.
No, more than anything, also just the experience, to be in a very controlled environment. And, well, honestly, World Pro Racing, as I say it very often either way, it's just the perfect environment to learn and to also just, you know, measure your talent against others. So yeah, hopefully looking to be getting a lot more drivers here. But now coming to the start-finish line around the last corner.
Here we go then, race number 1 of Mega Sprint Tuesdays here at the Hungaroring, about to get underway then. Reece, Spence, Rob on the right hand side. They get towards the line then, the green flag will be waved. Here it is, and we are racing then. Spence Rob gets a really good start off the line, then Vela will follow him through. You've got David Ohak and Jan-Niklas Erbrek also trying to follow through. Ohak trying to go up the inside of the Ferrari of Dean Vela, but it's going to be squeezed then. You've got Jan-Niklas Erbrek going round the outside, has to go off the track then. We were 3 wide for second place out of turn 1 then. We're still going to be 3 wide on the entrance in towards turn 2. Then David Ohak gets cut off then. He can't find a way through. Meanwhile then Jan-Niklas Erbrek gets a move up the inside. He moves past of Dean Vela and goes now up into second place. A good start in the end then for Jan-Niklas Erbrek from 4th place to 2nd, as that's Peresada who gets himself in a little bit of trouble then trying to find his way through. We've also got the number 97 who's found trouble. That's Murcia, one of the championship leaders at the moment, finding trouble. I believe the number 505 of Mead started from the pit lane, so that's really unfortunate. So he'll have to make up that ground. He was in that midfield pack then, around about 8th place I think he qualified, but he'll have to do all that hard work out on track. And Ashton Cox meanwhile is up into 9th place, a really good start considering he was starting in 16th place. He said he's got Wi-Fi issues though, that could be a little bit of a problem later down the line, but for now it's a mega start from Ashton Cox, who's in 9th right now.
Yeah, the H3 Racing driver, very well known around these parts, and of course one of the guys, you know, he doesn't really step back. He always wants to just try and show more action of the race, no matter where he qualifies. And we can actually see here in our replay, let's have a look here. And actually, never mind.
The suspense will wait for now. We'll wait for now. But for now, Ashton Cox in 8th place. It's showing now on our timing screens as he makes his way through the final corner at turn 14. It's been a mega start for him as he makes his way on towards the start-finish line. The problem for him is he's going to have to do that again and again. Let's see if we can get you a replay this time well. So here's Murcia in 8th place, making our way through in towards turn 2. We did see the aftermath of an incident just as we cut in towards turn 2. Then, there's contact between himself and Rainer Rissar going in towards turn 2, and it just looked like Rissar just dropped the back end, maybe a little too heavy on the right foot, and that just caused that Constantina effect.
Yeah, either that or he just tried very desperately to get the most momentum through this very, very tight but very fast right-hand kink, and of course just a little bit of a misjudgment and immediately all cars are going to be affected by that. But luckily it seems like Mejia didn't carry too much damage from that, so hopefully he can carry on mostly unimpeded from this position.
Michael Peresada right onto the back of this Aston Martin of Stephen Johnson, but Johnson there getting a little bit haywire going through that long right-hander of turn 5. Just the Aston Martin didn't want to quite turn in there, a bit of oversteer as he went through then, and Peresada trying to sniff out the opportunity to try and find a way past. This battle then for 12th place. Behind them is Kirsten and Bayer in the number 19 car, right behind, looking to try and challenge there in the GT Omega RPM Esports Ferrari. That number 19 car hounding the back of Peresada, letting him know, if you make a mistake, I'll be there. Maybe a chance down in towards turn 12. He looks to the right-hand side of the track, in towards the right-hander. There's just no way through, but to be fair, Peresada kind of leaves the door open there as we head through in towards turn 13, but Peresada has the inside line this time round, will take the apex for the corner. This is something that Peresada has to be careful about as Kirsten Abeya runs wide on the exit of turn 13, that if he does make any small mistakes like that, Kirsten Abeya is not a driver who would think twice.
Absolutely not, and he's one of the regulars around here as well. Very familiar with the Ferrari by now, and also a lot of the other cars, but you know, he's a bit more silent, you know, a little bit unspectacular, and then suddenly, like here, suddenly gets very up close and personal and is very, very eager to make a move as well.
Runs a little bit off track going in towards turn 1. And there is Dean Vela currently in 3rd place, and David Ohak is wanting to try and find a move past, but this will be the battle for that final podium position as we make our way through turn 4. David Ohak there in 4th place, Sheldon Muscat in 5th place, and from the stewards then, the incident between the number 690 car, which was Rainer Rissar, and the number 97 of Michael Murcia, there will be a drive-through penalty awarded to Rainer Rissar for causing an avoidable collision. So that is set in the first 50 minutes of the race. So that will be a drive-through proper, and that is Sheldon Muscat taking advantage of David Ohak, who got the chicane all wrong on the exit, and he slips through in the Honda up into 4th place.
Great run from him, and that is exactly just the nature of the circuit. You have to have a good flow and a little bit of a slip up, and immediately you will just find yourself in a very bothersome position. And yeah, Sheldon Muscat, right place, right time, and immediately made the move. Didn't hesitate whatsoever.
Kirsten Abaya running wide on the exit of, I believe that was turn 9, and almost fell into the hands of Mikhail Murcia as we make our way now on towards the penultimate corner. And there is Murcia making his way through 13, right on the back of Kirsten Abaya, one of the leaders in the championship as of right now, before of course this race comes to an end through the final corner at turn 14. Back onto the power then, as we make our way down that start-finish straight. At the moment, it's Spence Robb who leads the way. Jan-Nicolas Erbrich in 2nd place. Dean Vella in 3rd. There's your battle for 4th place. And Sheldon Muscat here trying to break away from David Ohak as he tries to make his way through. And there is Markek then in 6th place, or running a little deep in towards turn 2. In fact, he almost ran into the back of David Ohak, but he did well there to slow that car down. It's Slovanac in 7th place, Pirmitz in 8th, Cox in 9th, and Rassar with a drive-through currently occupying that 10th place spot.
Absolutely fantastic racing, and I'm honestly just trying to figure out right now who had a bigger heart attack right now, David Ohak or perhaps Magnus Markek, because with these digital rearview mirrors, with these little cameras in the back, the front end of those cars looks quite a bit bigger than you would anticipate when they get up close and personal. So.
Well, the Bentley in any mirror looks terrifying, doesn't it? It looks so intimidating. But at the moment then, Sheldon Muscat is holding on to 4th place in his Honda as he makes his way now through turn 10, then through turn 11. And again, David Ohak in the number 13 Bentley trying to find a way through. Markek then in 6th place, just watching on with the popcorn maybe, to see if anything happens up ahead. But that's allowing Dean Vella to break away. As you see then, David Ohak maybe looking for a move up in towards 30, but Muscat does enough to close the door, slam it shut. No way through for the Bentley this time around. In through 14 we go, getting a good exit out of the final corner, bringing you onto the start-finish straight, and maybe then a little bit of slipstream, a little bit of toe down the main straight. Might be a chance for David Ohak here to try and find a move past. He's into the slipstream now then, as we make our way towards turn 1. Let's have a replay here of Kirsten Abaya. This is out of turn number 3. Onwards we go towards turn 4. What happens here then? He turns into the corner, clips the curb. Oh, the back end swaps on him there, and he tries to get that back under control. Goes onto the curbing, onto the grass, and almost into the side of Murcia. Then, wow, how he kept that out of the Aston Martin then is beyond me.
At the same time, very good judgment in that moment from Murcia, not to turn in too tight there, and well, honestly, that was just very lucky for both of them, and well, luckily for us to not see one of the cars, or both of the cars perhaps, to be getting crashed out. But now look at this Murcia here, completely new confidence found from all of that, makes his way past, I think that is actually both Beresada and Johnson there, completely just absolutely like it's his second nature, just makes it past, and now up into 12th place. And well, Abaya actually wants to have another go at Beresada as well.
In towards turn 6, up the inside of 7, he just takes that line away, gets that move sealed as he makes his way up the order then. James Mead, meanwhile, had to start from the pit lane as we make our way through turn 9, onwards towards turn 10, and Kirsten Abaya here running wide again at the exit of 9, through turn 10, then through turn 11. James Mead wants to try and have a go as we make our way now onwards towards turn number 12. You've got Elbrecht as well in 17th place, looking for a move down the inside, not quite there, and it's sometimes those half-hearted moves that can be the most dangerous ones, as you saw there as well. Sorry, it's Peresada who's behind the other Aston Martin here, who wants to try and find a way through as we then make our way in towards the final corner. There is your race leader here in the team Boatley Bentley. It's Rhys Spence Robb leading this way then as Rainer Rassar comes into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty. There he is then. Down the pit lane he will go. It's about 60 kilometers per hour, especially at a track like this. It seems like that pit lane goes on forever, and I think that's me trying to move down the inside of Kirsten Abaya. No way through right now in towards turn 1, and there you can see Abaya just about gathers the car up and keeps on going. Then 13th place that'll be for now, as they've all passed Rainer Rassar, who's currently serving his drive-through penalty.
Absolutely tight racing here, and honestly, look at this again here. Steve Johnson a little bit of a wider exit out of turn 2. Now Abaya looking for the outside again. This seems to be his shtick for this race. Makes the move work before the corner and actually just slides a little bit wide. And now actually holding up Steve Johnson a little bit. James Mead is trying to look down the inside, but Steve Johnson not really threatened by Mead, not threatened by his fellow Aston Martin driver. Stays strong and keeps around the outside. Fantastic move there by Kirsten Abaya.
Yeah, Kirsten Abaya then up into 12th place, but Stephen Johnson will not take that lying down. Sheldon Muscat, meanwhile, still under pressure from that intimidating Bentley of David Ohack. They've also got behind them Matas Markek, who's right behind in the McLaren as he now makes his way then through in towards the penultimate corner, onwards then towards the final corner as Kirsten Abaya once again has to defend going in towards turn 12. Johnson trying to go round the outside going in towards turn 12, but he can't quite get the move done yet. Kirsten Abaya will try and defend the inside of 13. There's contact between the two of them. Stephen Johnson taps the back of Kirsten Abaya, then trying to go up the inside. There's contact again going through 13, and this time Johnson finds himself spun around going through the penultimate corner, and Kirsten Abaya holds on to 12th place now. There'll no doubt be a little bit of bodywork damage, but it's allowed the Ferrari of Perez Sada to jump up to 13th place.
Thing actually a bit more complicated there as well. So it seemed like Johnson just slightly missed his braking point. Abaya somehow held on to that. Honestly, it's absolutely beyond me how he didn't completely spin from that. Running a little bit wide there. You will have to be careful with that because, well, the track limits will be kicking into effect at some point here, and that'll be very tricky as Perez Sada kind of runs wide as well. But I think the one who actually lost out there was James Mead, who tried to profit from the situation, then had a bit of understeer and understeered into the side of Abaya, and obviously his Aston Martin not too much of a fan of that sudden just bump that he got on the right front of the car.
I did wonder about Perez Sada for just a brief moment going in towards turn 2. I thought he missed his braking point completely. He had, but he managed to keep it out of the rear end of the car in front. There's a car we haven't actually mentioned. We'll come to it in just a second. Here's Kirsten Abaya then. So this is the battle between himself and Johnson then going in towards turn 12. You see then Johnson on the outside on the exit of the corner. He then goes back, tries to switch it, and just in doing that, the door was closed. He taps the back of Kirsten Abaya, then tries to go for a second look, and I think that was that was James Mead, who then tries to take advantage going in towards 13. You're absolutely right then, Nico, but then gets a bit of a clattering, bit of door-to-door then, and he comes off the worst. Meanwhile then, David Ohack under pressure from Markek then as we make our way down towards turn 1. Will the McLaren have anything in towards the first braking zone of the lap then, with just over 7.5 minutes to go in this race? Seeing the rear wing of David Ohack then as that McLaren tries to turn up the heat going on towards turn 2. But if these two keep battling, it's just going to allow Sheldon Muscat to build the gap between them. This battle right now for 4th place, but won't be for much longer if 5th and 6th place keep battling as hard as they do.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a little bit of a mistake that was made by David Ohack there that allowed Sheldon Muscat to get away, but that is just all it takes, because suddenly he's in the fangs of the McLaren right behind him, and of course he'll have to watch out now that he just keeps up the momentum, can somehow catch back up to Sheldon Muscat, and honestly it's looking quite good so far for that, but of course all three of them pushing, and out of all of them right now, I'd say Sheldon Muscat may be the more fortunate one, just having a little bit less dirty air through this twisty section. Now back in the... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that. I think James Mead has got the move done on Stephen Johnson, and Johnson runs very deep into 4, and that is no way you're recovering that one going that deep through there. So unfortunately, that looks like it's going to be a huge amount of damage for the number 85 car. Meanwhile then, Sheldon Muscat, 4th place right now in the Honda, trying to break away from David Ohack. But look at this Ohack once again trying to find the way through. In through the penultimate corner at turn 13. Trying to get a better apex, better corner exit out of turn 13. Onwards then we go towards turn 14. This is the corner that matters from this helicopter camera. This is a battle for 4th place that's gone on for a lot of minutes now, quite a few laps in this race. Sheldon Muscat then moving to the right hand side of the circuit to try and break the toe wherever he can, then onwards then down towards turn 1. He's done enough this time around to stay ahead, but he knows there's a long 5 minutes ahead of him.
Absolutely, but at the same time you saw that little, well, jink and earlier braking in the second to last corner, didn't you? I think he's literally just parking it right now on the apexes when David Ohack is getting a bit too close for his tastes. just to bring it back into Markek a little bit. So, you know, that's also some tactics you can play. If you've got 3.3 seconds to Dean Bella there, and, you know, it's very unlikely that you're going to catch that up, well, maybe just slow down a little bit and have a look that that Bentley can't attack you as viciously by itself anymore.
Now this is a driver we haven't really mentioned at all so far today. It's Nerverth, Wojciech Nerverth, trying to defend from Mercia then as we make our way in through turn 5. Going our way through Mercia, wanting to try and recover as many positions as possible, as the stewards have awarded a 10-second time penalty to the number 85 car of Steve Johnson. So that will be added to the end of, well, at least this race. I'm sure he has come into the pit lane then as we saw him off the track at turn 4. That would have been causing an avoidable collision with the number 19 car of Kirsten Abaya. So that's the stewards awarding that penalty to Steve Johnson.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him in that situation, of course, but, well, luckily for him in that sense, it's not going to affect his next race, as it would seem, simply because that car did look quite irreparable, maybe a pedal issue or something, because it just looked like it didn't brake at all as he smashed into that wall over there at turn 4. So, yeah, luckily didn't hit the other Aston Martin. Now the big defensive movement there from Sheldon Scott Muscat, right ahead of Ohak, and I think he's actually starting to get a little bit sweaty now between his legs, between the armpits and everywhere, because that Bentley's getting ever so closer.
And meanwhile, Mercia's wanting to try and see if he can sneak a move up the inside in towards turn 1. Thought about it, but had to put the anchors on there. Nerverth was making it clear. Doesn't want to give up that position too easily then for 10th place as they now make their way on the short run down towards turn 2. Joining back with this battle for 4th place, Sheldon Muscat trying to defend as much as he can from David Ohak. Defends the inside line at turn 5 there. Flash of the lights from David Ohak as he wants to try and find that way through. Upwards then towards turn 6 and 7. These two have got to be careful because Matas Markek will certainly take those two positions when he can if these two run afoul of each other. At the moment though, Muscat is doing everything he can to hold on to 4th place. David Ohak currently in 5th, and that is Matas Markek in 6th place. Battle for 4th place, making its way through turn 10, then onwards towards turn 11. As maybe David Ohak might try and find a better run down towards turn 12. It's a short run down towards 12. Not normally your ideal overtaking opportunity. It's normally down towards turn 1. As you see now, going through in towards 13. Ohak days back this time around, just trying to put Muscat here, just try and see if he can force him into some sort of error, but Sheldon Muscat looks like he's defending like this 4th place depends on everything. Through the final corner we go. Just over 2.5 minutes left of this race. Spencer Robb still in the lead then by 4.3 seconds as we watch Sheldon Muscat trying to defend. Peresada meanwhile trying to battle away with Kirsten Abaya for 12th place as we make our way through in towards the penultimate corner, as Peresada just about holds on then as we make our way in towards the penultimate corner. Through the final corner, Peresada just about holds on, and yeah, we can confirm then in the Discord chat then that you were absolutely right then, as we see Mercia trying to make a move down the inside into the first corner. It's a huge move then. It didn't quite work as Nerverth makes his way back into 10th place, but you were absolutely right, Nico. The brake pedal for Steve Johnson just broke. He thought it fell off today, and unfortunately for him, he found out at the worst possible place to find out at turn 4.
Yeah, luckily very good reflexes and just misses the car right ahead of him. So yeah, keeping the casualty only to himself, and of course very unfortunate, but good luck in the bad luck situation, so to say.
There is Rassard trying to find the way past. He does in the number 690 and makes his move stick. Then Matthias Elbrecht just ran a little bit too deep into turn 1 then and couldn't quite defend as well as he may have liked. But that's the move then for Rassard up into 15th place. And once again, Sheldon Muscat defending hard then. There you can see Ohak trying to move up in towards turn 12 then. As you see them trying to fight their way through. Muscat just about doing enough so far in towards turn 13, and once again David Ohak cannot find a way through. The widest Ferrari Hungary has ever seen then. We're on to the final lap of this race then, started by Spence Robb with just under 60 seconds to go of this race before the checkered flag will fall, and Sheldon Muscat then again aggressively to the right hand side of the circuit, the left hand side of your screens, making his way down towards turn 1 as once again he breaks the toe enough off in towards the first braking zone to hold on to 4th place, and that's really a huge overtaking opportunity. But we know David Ohak, he's no stranger to trying to make a move. He's driving the very, very wide Bentley, which is always a tricky one to try and make an overtake stick in such a tight circuit. But Sheldon Muscat right now is making this defensive job as much as he possibly can. Nerverth still trying to defend from Murcia, then in towards the first corner. They're going to run side by side then as they make their way towards turn 2. Nerverth has the inside line, Murcia's on the outside going in towards turn 2. They give each other the room, and Nerverth managing to hold on now. There you can see he makes sure he gets the outside line going in towards turn 3 to give himself that racing line and that fighting chance of holding on to 10th place. And I tell you what, it's worked for now going up in towards turn 4. Great driving from Nerverth there.
Absolutely, and both of those guys, you know, just absolutely giving each other respect, but racing down to the millimeter. Fantastic to see. And I think actually we're almost about to be finished here. There we are. This is the man who we didn't really talk a lot about in this entire 20-minute race. Reece Spence-Robb, completely done everything right, and almost 5 seconds to Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Just goes around the last corner, very relaxed, no big drama, and just comes around. What comes around goes around, gets the first win of the day.
And a great drive from Reece Spence-Robb. Made it look easy then. Jan-Niklas Erbrich in 2nd place, then flash of the lights to show how happy he is. Dean Vella then will hold on to 3rd place to take that last podium position. And Sheldon Muscat, wow, what a defensive drive that was from the GT Omega RBM Esports driver. 4th place, holding off David Ohak and Mattis Markek then for 4th place. Wojciech Nerverth then has had to put a solid defensive drive so far, but it's not over yet. Through the final corner we go. He is just about to hold on to 10th place against Murcia then, and that is the top 10 finish for Nerverth. But there you can see Kirsten Abeya trying to hold on against James Mead. Through the final corner we go. But for Reece Spence-Robb, it's going to be the 3rd race win he has of Mega Sprint Tuesdays so far, so he's been doing really well recently. Kirsten Abeya 13th place, James Mead finishing in 14th place. Rainer Rissar meanwhile will try and grab 15th place in this race ahead of Matthias Elbrecht for 16th place, but a good amount of points no matter where you finish in this order. Then there goes Rissar then in 15th place, recovering from a drive-through penalty. Elbrecht grabbing the final finishing position. Well, that was a pretty interesting race, especially that battle for 4th place went on for the entire race, and some great defensive driving from Sheldon Muscat.
Absolutely, and I'm going to be honest, absolute huge respect to all the guys involved there. You know, those 3 fighting down to the millimeter multiple times. I thought, you know, we're going to have to see a bit of a spin there, a bit of a punt, but none of the sort. Just huge respect to the guys, and it was fantastic to watch, to be sure.
It was indeed, and there normally is that bit of a citation there where if you've had the race lead, you have the race lead the whole time and we don't see you a lot, it's normally a good sign. That was exactly the case for Spence-Robb. He made that look easy. 5-second gap pretty much between himself and 2nd place. A flawless drive from him so far.
Absolutely, and of course him being in the lead of the championship at the moment, he's going to be very welcoming to that. And of course right behind him, Jan-Niklas Erbrich, Bentley 1-2, and also Erbrich only 6 points behind him, so hopefully, or well, for Erbrich, you know, he's gonna hope that he can turn it around maybe a little bit, maybe get a couple points that he can gain on Reece Spence-Robb. However, either way, that's good points for the championship, and that's just overall good progress that he can make forward.
Dean Vella as well, don't forget, 3rd place for him in that race. He struggled a bit with that sort of battling first of all, but once he broke away from that pack, he got the move, he got the advantage, and made it look a comfortable 3rd place in the end.
Absolutely, and the Ferrari, it can be a bit difficult around here, especially higher curbs or longer curbs, of which, you know, the Hungaroring has both quite a lot of. He kept it together very well, and, you know, just his reward was that wonderful podium position.
It was, and it's a great feeling, that podium position, as the top 3 were slightly more spread out than maybe we wanted, but there's plenty of talking action in that. I mean, we had Rainer Rissar picking up the drive-through penalty very early on in that race, in fact on the very first lap between himself and the number 97 car of Michael Murcia. That's not what he wanted for his sort of championship hunt, but he managed to recover well.
Yeah, overall, quite a good recovery, well, for both of them actually, with Rainer Rissar making up quite good time from his drive-through penalty, and of course, Murcia just making an immense amount of time after being spun around just at turn 3 of the lap 1 of this 20-minute race. Not a lot of time, to actually gain back all that time. That's absolutely stellar drive, and still, even though probably very stressed in that situation, kept it clean and just kept it going to the finish, and still, it's very valuable points to be gained.
It really is. Well, that's race 1. We'll leave you to unpack the rest of that race yourselves. Race 2 is coming up after this. Welcome back to Mega Sprint Tuesdays here on World Pro Racing. After an eventful first race, we've got two more coming up. Race 2 in just a couple of moments. Of course, we had that 6-minute qualifying session earlier on today, which decides the grid for all 3 races. So if you didn't get a good lap in, I'm afraid it's tough luck for the 3 races you've got coming up. But Nico, an eventful race one for sure. A couple of penalties handed out by the stewards, a drive-through and a 10-second penalty. Things for race 2 coming up then. Just a quick thought on what could be a potential another good race.
Well, I think people will just have to stay consistent there. Dean Vella, of course, got in the clutches of the DJ Racing Bentleys, and maybe he's going to be a bit more aspiring to try and, well, get a better start this time around. However, of course, be careful on that rolling start here as we come to the line, and I'll leave it to you for that.
Here we go then, Spence Rob on the left-hand side, Dean Vella on the right-hand side. They come towards the line. Green flag is out then. Dean Vella with a drive-through penalty. It's a start line infringement as we make our way now down towards turn 1 for the very first time in race number 2. Spence Rob gets the inside line then into this heavy braking zone. You've got cars trying to go 3 wide up the inside. There's a bit of contact. I think that's with Kirsten Abaya and Rainer Assar going in towards turn 1. We'll have to come back to that soon, but Dean Vella in second place, albeit with a drive-through penalty. David Ohak this time around has to go the long way round. Oh, there's contact there in towards turn 2. Multiple cars involved then, as there's a car have to go all the way around the outside. I think that's Kirsten Abaya who took to the track way on the outside there. No surprises there to avoid the little bit of carnage. Michael Parasada trying to make his way through now. He's up into 9th place after that crazy start. And the number 23 car is involved all the way down the order. It's Silver Pyramids in the Nissan. Kirsten Abaya lighting up the rear tyres going in towards turn 4. That's invited Rainer Assar to go up the inside. He runs deep into turn 5 then. Onwards we go towards turn 6 as Rassar got the line. Then they're still side by side going in towards turn 6. Kirsten Abaya battling away for 11th place. He's got that move done then. And Rainer Assar drops back down into 12th place. There's Silver Pyramids then, who went sideways going in towards turn 2. Never what you want to do in that Ninko Racing Nissan then, but he's all the way down into 16th place. Herasada then up into 9th place as he looks to try and chase down, I think that's Markek in the position ahead of him. There is Abaya then, who's done well to avoid all sorts of carnage coming his way on this very first lap.
Absolutely, but there we are here at Silver Pyramids. On the further outside, actually, we see one of the cars there that is actually one of our former joint leaders as well. Yeah, actually, so much happening then. Now, let's see what happened there, because... Oh no, just moved a bit under braking there.
Yeah, that's James Mead moving under braking slightly, and that puts Silver Pyramids into this little bit of a slide. Oh, and there's contact again, and we missed that part. So that's why he's so far down the order. Bit more contact on the exit of 2 then. Collides with the Armco barrier, and that's going to put a dent into his race. Peresada being passed by Jan-Nicholas Erbrecht then, who's had to avoid all sorts of trouble in this early stage of the race, but he's now up into 9th place. From 4th place down to 9th at the moment for him. Not great so far, but it's still quite a way to go. We've still got a lot of racing having to be done here. Kirsten Abaya in 11th place. I think it's safe to say that it's been a successful first lap for Kirsten Abaya. Considering he was so far off the track on the outside of turn 2, I think he's done well.
Absolutely, and very good recovery, maybe even very helpful to stay a bit out of trouble. But one person who once again just managed to stay out of trouble completely, Spence Rob, and well, Dean Vella, what he was kind of fearing, while trying to stay up with Spence Rob, drive-through penalty. Very unfortunate for him, but yeah, that's just one of the risks that you have to take when you're trying to get into that position and get an advantage out of it. Right behind that, David Ohak and Sheldon Scott Muscat. This time only those two, because something happened to Markek's McLaren.
Yeah, he's fallen down the order slightly then, as we still watch this battle then between the two drivers for 13th and 14th place. There's Ashton Cox then trying to go around the outside then of Markek and gets the move done into 7th place. He will go. The Ashtar racing car moves up into 7th place, and he now makes his way through the final quarter. He said he had an extra 19 litres of fuel in the last race, more than he wanted, because he put the numbers in wrong. Well, let's hope he's crunched his numbers and he's got them the right way around this time around, making a way down down the start-finish straight, then he's now up into 7th place, making our way down towards turn 1. There you can see Marquez. Is he looking for an open door? Then he is, you know, late on the brakes, then in towards turn 1. Can he get that car slowed down? Yes, he can. And now Jan-Niklas Erbrich trying to find a way through. They're going to run side by side on the run towards turn 2. Ashton Cox has the inside line in towards turn 2. In theory, he should have the racing line. Bit of contact between them, and Ashton Cox goes sideways onto the grass, managing to recover that one. He loses that place though, but I have to say, fair play to him because he saved that one.
Very good car control from him there. And, you know, once again, you know, Cox, he absolutely knows how to race hard. Very, very good from him there. But at the same time, really, we had that beautiful camera angle down to turn 1. And, well, we have these, so to say, purebred race cars, the 488 and the 720S, both coming down side by side into turn 1. And right behind that, that absolute fridge of a Bentley right behind him, with Jan-Niklas Erbrich just trying to look for a gap through.
Bridge of the Bentley. Do you know what, Nico? There's no better way. I don't want the Bentley described in any other way other than that now. But there is Sheldon Muscat then, 4th place right now, under pressure from Mikael Mercia. And of course, he was one of our leaders before race number 1, before Reece Spence Robb took his 3rd race win of Mega Sprint Tuesdays. We now make our way on towards turn 14 in car number 14. Sheldon Muscat trying to hold on for, once again, for 4th place. A bit of deja vu here for Sheldon Muscat.
Well, it's going to turn into 3rd place now, simply because Dean Vella is now in pit lane for his drive-through penalty that he got from the starting position infringement. Now Wojtek Neuwirth, though, actually very far up the order, and right next to Marquez, and right behind that once again, Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's a spin then for Neuwirth. He's right in the middle of the track then, and somehow everyone else avoids him going through turn 1. And it was a late move then from Jan-Niklas Erbrich then going in towards turn 1. There is Dean Vella emerging from the pit lane. Unfortunately for him, he's now in 16th place and he's got about 40 minutes to recover as many positions as possible. Meanwhile then, Pirmit grabs that racing line then going in towards turn 2. No mercy shown for the car behind. I think that was Mead through there. And yeah, there you can see then Silver Pyramids gets the move done. Matas Marquez then into 5th place, and now he's got Jan-Niklas Erbrich in his mirrors then in towards turns 6 and 7. Car number 19 will be getting a 10-second time penalty for causing an avoidable collision and for a dive bomb. So that's going to be Kirsten Abeya, I think that is car number 19. So a 10-second penalty awarded by the race stewards.
Yeah, we see them with quite aggressive lines, maybe a little bit too aggressive this time around for the stewards, but the race is still long, so he can still try to gain a bigger gap to the cars behind him.
Yes, he can, but those 10 seconds will be looming over him for the rest of this race then. Let's have another look going down in towards turn 1. So we had a battle here between Neuwirth and Marquez for 6th place. Heavy braking in towards turn 1. Then Erbrich makes a move down the inside. There's a little bit of a tap then, and there's nothing Neuwirth can do to get that back end from stopping to spin. But Ashton Cox somehow managed to find his way through that one. I don't understand that one. Kirsten Abeya lighting up the rear tyres. That's an invitation that Rainer Rossard is not going to turn down. Into the slipstream he will go. Is there going to be a move here for 9th place as we make our way towards turn 1? He's later on the brakes. There is Rossard going in towards 1. He has to go the long way round. Then maybe he'll have to try and put the power down earlier, get a little bit of a switchback for him though. Abeya has that 10-second time penalty. The stewards also awarding a 10-second time penalty for the number 505 of James Mead for causing an avoidable collision on the number 23 car of Silver Pyramids. Meanwhile then, you've got Silver Pyramids making a move then up the inside in towards turn 2, and up to 13th place he will go, and he's got a big recovery drive on his hands. Up to 13th place though.
Yeah, absolutely ironic as well that he makes it into turn 2. This time, you know, without getting hit under braking, actually makes the move work quite nicely and immediately puts around half a second of a gap between himself and Albrecht.
Yeah, trying to make his way through turn 5. Then his next target is Kirsten Abeya, but of course he's got a 10-second time penalty that'll be added to the end of his race. There's Rainer Rossard then trying to hold back Neuwirth. He's made the move, and now he's got to try and hold on to 9th place. His next target, 2.5 seconds up the road, is Peresada. So we'll have to wait and see how he gets on trying to close that gap. Michael Peresada there in 7th place has now got past Ashton Cox then for 7th place. as they now make their way onwards towards turn 13. Then you can see Michael Peresada trying to defend as hard as he can to the inside going through turn 13, and Ashton Cox all over the back of Michael Peresada. Through in towards 14 we go. He takes a tighter line going in towards 14. That could come back to haunt him. Meanwhile then we've got a replay then going in towards turn 2. So Kirsten Abeya then running a little deep into 2. Then we've got Reina Rissar right behind. And Kirsten Abeya, oh no, that's absolutely crunched into the wall there and took a little bit too much curb, upset the car, and there was nowhere else that car was going. Meanwhile then, Ashton Cox running side by side on the exit of turn 1. He'll have the outside line going in towards turn 2, but does he have the momentum to try and hold on to the move going in through turn 2? Currently 7th place right now. The battle here developing all the way through in towards turn 3, and Ashton Cox seals the move around the outside. Great move from the Ashton racing car.
Yeah, you know, we know from Ashton Cox already, you know, when he goes in, you know, he always goes down the inside very efficiently. And, well, first couple times always a bit further outside, get more momentum so he can take the line out at the end of the corner a bit tighter but more straight, because this Ferrari does not like to accelerate through too many bends. But now Peresada actually just a little bit out of form from Cox. Peresada makes the move back and tries to fight back again, and actually once again Cox goes inside and just barely makes it work and now stays ahead.
They're swapping positions left, right and centre, but Ashton Cox, that all started once again from him missing his braking point in towards turn 6, and then it really compromised this line through turn 7. Peresada thought he had the move done but didn't quite have it. Ashton Cox doing enough to make sure he gets back that 7th place. Reina Rissar then, there you can see, in 9th place. If it's a pink car, it's Reina Rissar. That's the rules, I don't make them. Making our way through turn 13, onwards then towards turn 14 they go. Meanwhile then, joining this battle for 3rd place, there is Murcia looking for a podium in this race here at the Hungaroring. We've got a 5-second penalty for the number 299 car. That's Jan-Niklas Erbrich on the number 63, which I believe was Wojciech Nervirth. So that would have been the turn 1 incident we saw a couple of laps ago for causing an avoidable collision. So 5 seconds will be added to the end of Erbrich's race. Silver Pyramids, though, looks like he's got the move done for 12th place going down in towards turn 1. He's going to have to battle James Mead for it then in towards the first corner. But there you can see he has James Mead take the outside line, a compromised line as well. Kirsten Abeya finds his way through for that position and moves his way up the field then. So a nice job then. In fact, it's not Kirsten Abeya, it's actually Dean Vella. They look similar, those cars, I'm sure they do. But yes, it's actually Dean Vella who benefits from that. He now moves up into 13th place.
And yes, these cars do look in fact similar because they're from the same team, of course, GT Omega RPM Esports. But yeah, Kirsten Abeya actually, very sadly, of course, out of the race because of that very hard crash. But, well, a good case good in this case for Dean Vella, because of course he is now making his slow but steady recovery drive now for that drive-through penalty that he got at the start of the race. So moving up to 13th place and looking to make it 12th as he's right behind Pyramids. Meanwhile, the Peresada in the next Ferrari up ahead, fighting against the Porsche of Slovenac. And Slovenac actually one of the cars that got really, I'd say, really badly damaged just at that turn 2 incident, but still managing to hang on. And speaking of damaged cars from that turn 2 incident, here Pyramids, the main projectile, so to say, still hanging on to that 12th place and not really willing to just make way for the Ferrari behind.
Yeah, he was battling away for a podium in the last race. He's now battling away for 12th place. Is Steve Vella. He's going to go the long way round through the final corner. There's not a lot of grip out there, but if you can get the power down, you can get a slightly better line. You can use a bit more curb on the exit as well. These two are going to be running side by side down the start-finish straight then. This battle for 12th place, making our way towards turn 1 once again as James Mead in the distance as well wants to try and make a move done. Silver Pyramids has got the inside line then. Dean Vella just about does enough on the outside line, still leaves the room then, but he takes the wider line, gets onto the power earlier and holds on then to 12th place, making our way down towards turn 2. And I have to say as well, the battle between Slovenac and Peresada, they were running side by side for a good couple of corners then before Slovenac got the move done, and he now moves up into 10th place. As you can see now, Dean Vella wants to try and move away from Silver Pyramids as quickly as he possibly can.
Absolutely, but all the same, it's very, very crazy here once again. 9th, 10th and 11th as they pass through the Sector 1 to Sector 2 gate. all within just all within these little 1 second intervals, and even closer than that right now. Malcolm Mejia and Sheldon Muscat here once again, just still fighting. Sheldon Muscat, he must be the defensive driver of this entire round here, because just wow, just constantly trying to just park it on the apex, keep it as clean as possible out of the corners. But meanwhile, Malcolm Mejia is really just desperate to show, well, if this stuff at the beginning of the first race didn't happen, I could have been fighting up here. So now, guys, watch me get this podium.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because we know Sheldon Muscat, just in this race alone, knows him again in towards turn number 3. Oh, sorry, in race number 2 for position number 3. That's what I meant. Unfortunately, I think in this race we've lost Ashton Cox. That's due to connectivity issues, unfortunately for him. And he was having a good race then, up into, I believe, was 7th place at the time. May have been even up into 6th place. But sometimes when your internet doesn't play ball, it just does not play ball.
Absolutely, and that is just, well, so to say, the equivalent of these technical difficulties that we normally only have in real racing. In real racing, you can have a gearbox breakdown, you can have transmission failure, or a clutch failure, so to say. And of course, in real life, we can have a brake pedal failure, as we had with Steve Johnson, and of course, connection dropping, sadly, as we had just now with Ashton Cox.
Yes, that's so unfortunate for Cox. Then he was doing a sublime job making his way, cutting his way through the field, and it's unfortunate that his race has to end like that. Oh, there's contact there between Silver Pyramids and James Mee going through turn 5 then, and once again Silver Pyramids finds the tyre barriers. He'll get away then, and he'll only lose a mountain of time. He won't lose many positions. He'll rejoin then in 13th place. But once again, he finds those tyre barriers. It's the last 5 minutes of the race then. So if there were to be a penalty at this point, it will be carried over to the next race in race number 3. Rainer Rassar, meanwhile, has got Nerverth right behind him as we make our way once again in towards turn 13. He's also got Slovenach for company as well as we make our way towards the final corner. Rainer Rassar in the EuroRC.com Aston Martin. There you can see Slovenach trying to make a move up the inside in towards 13. But there is your race leader right now. Reece Spence-Robb in a Team Boatley Bentley making his way through turn 3. 6.4 seconds is the gap between himself and David Ohak. And once again, Nico, he's making that look easy. Rainer Rassar defending the inside line going in towards turn 1. Oh, and Slovenach makes contact with Nerverth in towards turn 1 as Nerverth was turning into the first corner. There you saw Slovenach's nose try and get a move down the inside, but contact made between them, and Nerverth finds himself spun around. He does rejoin, and he has to wait a long time before he can rejoin safely, and that's one of the worst parts. The spin's the worst part with the contact being made, but then you have to wait an age for all the other cars to find their way through before you can rejoin safely.
Absolutely, and just, I don't know, it just really doesn't seem to be Neuwirth's corner there, because that's the same time, well, almost the same incident that we saw for him happen with Niklas Erbrich. Of course, Erbrich was at fault there because he came from behind and gave him a little pump there, but there it could have been a bit closer there. I think Slovenach was just already more alongside than Neuwirth had anticipated, and of course that is just so unlucky.
Yep, Slovenach right now has 8th place. He's got Michael Peresada right behind him as they now make their way through turn 11 onwards to the short run towards turn 12. As there you can see Slovenach just trying to hold on for now and make his way through the order. And we've got a drive-through penalty that's been awarded to Kirsten Abaya. We'll come back to that one when we can. I think that's going to be something to do with track limits. I don't think that's yeah, so it's nothing to do with the stewards that we've got on the team tonight. Adrian Figallo and George Muscat on the stewarding team tonight. And so that is a drive-through penalty, unfortunately, for Kirsten Abaya, which adds to his woes just in race number 2, as Slovenach, the Croatian, tries to close in on Rainer Rassar ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and the pink Aston Martin, of course, still trying to be a bit more distant. But that Porsche, of course, through slower corners and, of course, out of slow acceleration zones, with that rear engine is just fantastic. Now we have Niklas Erbrich here, who is still right in front of Markek, just barely ahead of him though, and just not quite able to get away from him. And of course, that will just relegate him down one further place as soon as he's past that. But honestly, with 18 seconds down to Rainer Ressar right behind Marquez, I think he just tries to race it to the line now and just have a little bit more fun. And, well, he'll worry about that penalty later.
Yeah, I think as well, the penalty's only going to drop in one position because you've got Rainer Ressar, who's 18.8 seconds behind Marquez. So for Jan-Niklas Derbrick here, he's only going to have to worry about being dropped one position at the moment. So 6th place is the worst case scenario for him as he makes his way now through turn 13. As I believe there is Spencer Robb starting the final lap of this race then, with just under 60 seconds on the clock. There in the distance is David Ohak. 7 seconds separates the two leaders right about now. David Ohak in 2nd place there. Sheldon Muscat once again trying to defend hard from Murcia then, and he's decided to get a little bit more of a gap. He's opened up the tank here on the Honda going through turn 1, and again still feels the need to break the toe wherever possible, making our way once again for the last time in race 2 down towards turn 2.
And once again, I mean, this time he actually has a little bit more breathing room than the last race. However, of course, he will still have to bring this one home. And of course, the Honda is not an easy car to drive fast here. But Sheldon Scott Muscat has shown quite a lot of times now already that, he doesn't really have any trouble whatsoever. But also, look at that inside curb. Sheldon, be careful there. Don't get a drive-through penalty now from track limits. And once again here, very, very wide. You really want to know it now, don't you, Sheldon?
He really does, but he's shown us how defensive he is and how good he is at the defensive driving. He's frustrated a lot of drivers behind him today, but making sure he tries to grab 3rd place with both hands will be his main aim today. Well, we've got Spencer Robb making his way through the final couple of corners. Slovanac still trying to chase Ressar, but there is the team Boatley-Bentley of Reece Spencer Robb then making his way through the penultimate corner, onwards then towards the final corner. Over 8 seconds between himself and David Ohak over the space of 20 minutes. It's a dominant drive once again from the team Boatley-Bentley. Reece Spencer Robb wins race number 2 of Mega Sprints Tuesdays here on World Pro Racing at the Hungaroring. There is David Ohak, who makes his way towards the line. 2nd place for him, and it gets himself onto the podium. And Sheldon Muscat rounds off the top 3 then. Another defensive masterclass from him to grab the last podium spot. Murcia in 4th place. Meanwhile then Slovanac trying to find a move up the inside of Rainer Ressar. Was there contact between the two of them going into towards the penultimate corner? And Peresada fancies his chances of trying to grab a position or two. Through we go through the final corner. Rainer Ressar will put the power down to grab 7th place. Slovanac meanwhile in 8th. He'll just about hold on against Peresada for 8th place then as they finish across the line. And Slovanac in 8th, Peresada 9th. Dean Vella recovering to 10th place after his earlier drive through in the race. Nerverth recovering to 12th place in the Team Shark Aston Martin with silver pyramids in 13th place. Elbrecht has a drive-through penalty that'll be converted to a time penalty that'll be added at some point in the next race, I'm sure. But Reece Spencer Robb then winner of race 2, our first, I believe, back-to-back winner here on Mega Sprint Tuesdays. Asserting his dominance would be an understatement there, Nico.
Absolutely is. A little fun thing that I just saw as I think Neuwirth crossed the line. Right behind him we saw Ashton Cox actually, obviously having lost connection in the middle of the race, but just before the race ended, reconnected and just quickly wanted to, just to say, hey guys, I'm also finished here. But yeah, very good spirit from him here. But also one little thing, Marquez, little bit of a mistake seemingly in the last lap, because just over that 5-second interval, so Elbrecht actually gets to hold on to 5th place. Therefore, kind of, the DJ Racing Bentleys just switching positions from race 1 to 2.
Absolutely, but another dominant display from Reece Spencer Robb. Our stewards have just informed us that the incident on the number 505 on the number 23, so that is James Mead on silver pyramids. James Mead will pick up a 5-second time penalty in race number 3 instead of at the end of race 2. So he'll have that 5-second penalty looming over his race number 3. But Nico unpacking once again a close podium battle, and this time Muscat grabs 3rd place, 4th place in the first race, 3rd place for him in the second race. If that pattern continues,
well, it's going to make for 2nd now in the last race. But yeah, I think at least the DJ Racing Bentleys, and also of course his teammate in the Ferrari, Dean Vella, they're going to have numerous things to say about that. So we'll see how well that works for Sheldon Scott Muscat in the Honda. But yeah, we have to see in race 3.
And wherever we were watching, there was battles up and down the field. We'll give you time to relax before we head into race 3, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back then to Mega Sprint Tuesdays here on World Pro Racing, and wherever you're watching us on eSports Television, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, perhaps you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you so much for watching. It's been great to see you react as a community as well to these races we've had so far. I've got good news. We've got one more race coming up, race number 3 at the Hungaroring. And Nico, it's been good so far, plenty of action, and we're being treated to one more of them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had crazy events through all of them, and well, both times the start was rather chaotic, but let's see if the third start maybe can be a little bit more gentle, a bit more relaxed. But either way, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and one thing Sheldon Muscat has been doing really well is showing us a defensive masterclass. 4th in the first race tonight, 3rd in the second race. If things go his way and if patterns like to be completed, 2nd place perhaps?
Maybe, you never know unless you try, and of course, Sheldon's got Muscat with that Honda, very, very good consistency, and of course, absolutely a hell of a defensive driver, and we have to see whether he can make it past those 2 Bentleys, though.
Well, he starts in 6th place, of course, as we now make our way. We get the cars rolling here for the last rolling start of tonight, as the cars make their way through turn 14 and onwards towards the start-finish line once again. Dean Vella will be hoping this time around he doesn't pick up a drive-through penalty. He's got the 2 DJ racing cars of David Ohak and Jan-Niklas Erbrich behind as the cars build up formation. They keep to that speed as they make their way towards the line. Green flag is shown. We are racing, and it's a good start. Another good start from Reece Spence Robb, but Dean Vella gets a good start off the line. But look at that second half of the start then from David Ohak. He's looking for a move up the inside in towards turn 1 then. As you can see there, the Porsche misses its braking point completely. Constantina in towards turn 1. Multiple cars facing the wrong way then. And I think Slovanac then missed his braking point, tapped the rear of a car, and caused all sorts of carnage going in towards turn 1. James Mead caught up in it as well. The number 13 car, I believe, is all the way around. That's David Ohak, who's still trying to recover on the exit of turn 1. He was trying to battle for the lead early on in this race, and he finds himself all the way around. Meanwhile, then Wojciech Nurwerth trying to defend from Ashton Cox, then making her way up towards turn 4. Slovanac. Oh, we got another car around. Rainer Rassar out of turn 4, sideways on the exit, then manages to recover, but another car was caught up in that incident, still going across the grass there. We'll have to try and see who that was up the field then. But Rainer Rassar now down into 10th place. David Ohak down to 16th place, all the way down as the last runner. But he will try and find his way up the order as best as he possibly can. That puts Wojciech Nurwerth up into 5th place. Meanwhile then, here's Jurika Slovanac then. Gets a really good start off the line then, goes up to 9th place, and then he's going to try and go up the inside. Is he braking hard then? Oh, he gets a tap as well. So that's why then. So he gets a tap on the rear, and 1, 2, 3 cars around. Gets a little bit of a tap from the Ferrari ahead as well as he tries to find his way through. So I do apologise. That did seem like he got a tap as well, did Slovanac.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, I don't know if both of us commentary cursed it there, because now we have Sheldon Scott Muscat, EP2, and that's the next one for Rainer Rassar.
And he's hit the wall hard there out of turn 13. He got a tap now on the exit of 13, making his way now up in towards 14. I wonder if he'll actually get his way into the pit lane. How much damage is there on the front of his car? Making our way down towards turn number 1 for the 2nd time in this race. Very, very hectic start then, as there you can see Perez Sada trying to make a move then on Elbrecht then in towards turn 1. Elbrecht runs a little bit too deep into turn 1. He's had to give that position up, and James Mead behind will be invigorated to try and find that move up the order. Rainer Rassar then, the EuroRC.com racing car, obviously now been in the wars a couple of times in this race, as he now makes his way in towards turn 2. David Ohak right behind him, and Ohak will be wanting to try and get the charge on. And well, I have to say, the absolute opposite of a commentary curse. We see Sheldon Muscat in 2nd place. Maybe the pattern will be continued here, but I have to say there's still 17 minutes of this race to go.
No, well, yeah, so to say, you gave him a commentary blessing, and if I hadn't gotten interrupted by that incident with Rainer Rassar, well, let me complete my sentence there. Basically, well, me basically kind of cursing that we would have, a clean start, which obviously sadly didn't happen. That, where is it? That is James. Oh,
that's how it started.
Judging the braking, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it started. So James Mead giving a tap to Slovanac. Then he gets caught up with the likes of Christian Abea, and then in towards that was Jan-Niklas Erbeck in the 2.99 then, so he's now recovered into 9th place. Meanwhile then, James Mead moves up the order then. He gets away past Elbrecht and moves up into 13th place as he makes his way through. Rainer Assar down now into 16th place. Has something else gone wrong for the Estonian then? It has just not been his race 3 tonight.
Absolutely not. And, well, honestly, he knows, just finishing this race, he will get good points. So I think he's kind of just aiming for that right now.
Yeah, there's Silver Pyramids, 3rd place at the moment. Mercier trying to find a move up the inside in towards turn 1. And, Silver Pyramids gets the exit and gets a little bit of traction that he needs to hold on to 3rd place at the moment. Mercier in 4th place, then Nerverth in 5th, with Ashton Cox in 6th place. Hopefully his internet gets to hold out for just a little bit longer. Slovanac in 7th place with Markek in 8th, Erbrecht in 9th, and Dean Vella rounding off the top 10. He was caught up, of course, earlier in the earlier melee into turn 1. Of course, starting 2nd place down to 10th once again. We've got a replay here then. So this is Rainer Assar, currently in 10th place, or was in 10th place. Dean Vella looking for a move up the inside, then has to switch back to the racing line. What happens on the exit here? Does he get a tap? Yes, he does, from Dean Vella, and finds himself into that hard Armco on the left-hand side of the track. And then it's just a waiting game to try and find a gap out there to rejoin safely. So he fell all the way down to what was 15th place, rejoined ahead of Ohak, but he's now down into 16th place and last of the runners right now. Silver Pyramids, though, under pressure from Mercier. And once again, Mercier is on the attack, but he's got a Nissan right ahead of him as we make our way in towards turn 12. Then Mercier going the long way around into 12. Can he get that move settled? Then no, he can't. The Nissan just about stays ahead. Again, Mercier tries to open up the corner, then tries to go up the inside. Bit of contact between the two of them. That's going to invite Nerva to try and move then in towards turn 13. Couldn't quite find the traction he needed. Through 14 we go, and once again these two battling side by side on the exit of 14. Mercier running wide. Will he get a little bit of a toe down the start-finish straight? Well, I'll tell you what though, Nerva tucks in to get a little bit of slipstream himself down towards turn 1. He thinks about a move then in towards turn 1 for 4th place, but not quite this time around. Mercier just seeing if he can fill those Nissan mirrors with a bit of Aston Martin, just see if he can put him under pressure. But Silver Pyramids holding firm right now for 3rd place.
Absolutely crazy here with how close they're all fighting. Little bit of a touch there now. Silver Pyramids actually going very, very sideways there. With his Nissan, of course, this race a lot less broken than last time. But now again, like looking to one side, looking to the other side, Mercier just trying to get close or like side by side, but not quite able to do it.
He's trying to make sure the car stays in the right direction as well. That's going to be an important one for Silver Pyramids. Meanwhile then, the race stewards have decided that the number 505 of James Mead is going to receive a drive-through penalty for causing that first lap melee into turn 1. Of course, he tapped the back of the number 43 car, which was Slovanac, in towards 1, and that's what caused all that carnage. So a drive-through penalty awarded to James Mead. Meanwhile then, Matas Markek trying to fight away here against Dean Vella, but he now falls down to 10th place. He was 8th place at the last timing line and has fallen 2 positions since then, as he now makes his way out of 11 on towards turn 12 we go. And at the moment then, Spencer Robb once again leading by 4.3 seconds.
Yeah, and well, once again, it seems like, it's almost like a force field that he has, it just keeps all the trouble away from him, and he just keeps on going about with his business. Meanwhile, we see also just Jurika Slovinac, who of course was, well, one of the main victims here. Just now this time, maybe in a more active role, trying to stay alongside 299. As you said, 4 wide, now still 3 wide, coming into turn 1. Who's going to be the one profiting the most there? Now on the complete inside, we've got the Ferrari trying to get along, but not quite possible.
Dean Vella taking a spin then in towards turn 1 and going 3 wide into turn 1 doesn't work at the best of times, let alone when you're trying to fight as hard as you can for those positions. Jan-Niklas Erbeck into 8th place, but I mean, that was a gutsy move from Matas Markek then, from 10th place now up into 7th.
One would, as some people would say, this is the best timeline, especially for Markek here. Now trying to make his way back up, but I was about to say something has happened to Silver Pyramids, because he definitely dropped down a couple places, but then suddenly we just got distracted by way more action there.
Yeah, there's James Mead rejoining the track after surfing his drive-through penalty. Ashton Cox, meanwhile, he gets a little bit sideways on the exit of, I think that's turn number 8 then. Through 9 we go, and then through turn 10, and you can see Silver Pyramids all over the back of the Ashtar racing car. Through turn 11 we will go. Just trying to make sure you keep that car in check. Onwards towards turn 12 we go. And as you said there, Silver Pyramids was in 3rd place, trying to make a move down in towards turn 12. Bit of contact between them then. Ashton Cox has to go off the track, of course, with that contact. Bit of flash of the lights there. He didn't appreciate that one. And I think then that is Silver Pyramids running wide. He gives the position back. He cedes that one.
Very nice and sportsmanlike there. Wonderful to see. But yeah, both of them elbows out, and the Wi-Fi's back, and so is Ashton Cox. And honestly, well, I think he's also one of the British karting drivers, like the PC boys that we usually have around here. But yeah, elbows out, down to the limit, and rubbing is racing. But it's also nice to see that when it's a little bit too much rubbing, that all of them are very, very fair there. Now we see a very beautiful move around the outside there. Jan-Niklas Erbrich in the Bentley trying to make his way up the order again.
And that's a lovely swooping move round the outside for Jan-Niklas Erbrich to now put himself up into 7th place. And as you can see, running a little deep into 2, but that's to try and put the power down earlier. But still, Marquez is not going anywhere as he continues to battle for 7th place. It's Rhys Spence-Robb at the top of the field at the moment then, having on the 6th lap of this race. Sheldon Muscat in 2nd place. Murcia is in 3rd, Nerverth in 4th, with Ashton Cox in 5th, Silver Pyramids in 6th. We're watching Jan-Niklas Erbrich in 7th place, with Matas Markic in 8th place. Jurika Slovinac in 9th, and Kirsten Abaya rounding off our top 10. It's David Ohak in 11th place, Dean Veller in 12th, Rainer Rossar in 13th place, Matthias Elbrecht in 14th place, Michael Peresada in 15th, and James Mead rounding off the last of the runners right now in 16th place. And there is your team Boatley Bentley leading this race by 4.9 seconds.
And, as I said, he just seems to have a force field that pushes all the trouble away from him. Ever since we had this little, I think it was like basically the last lap or second to last lap incident with Michael Vecchia in the last couple corners in the first race. But yeah, ever since then, completely clean as a whistle, and just no problem whatsoever for Rhys Spence-Robb, and may just turn this into the triple for him.
Yeah, as we saw there, that was Jan-Niklas Erbrich getting a move done on Silver Pyramids as he now moves up a position. Pyramids down to 8th place as now he's got in his rear view mirrors. Matas Markic wanting his 7th place as we make our way down towards turn 1. Once again, Jan-Niklas Erbrich close to the back of Ashton Cox then in the Astra racing car. Through turn 1 we go, and the Bentley taking a slightly deeper line into 1 to try and put the power down earlier on the run towards 2 then. And this is an interesting battle between the two of them. It's not often you see Ashton Cox and Jan-Niklas Erbrich battling away, but when you do, grab the popcorn because it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely, and we always know that Cox goes hard, but we can only wait and see now if Erbrich can go harder, and especially around this circuit, it's tight and windy. With this Bentley, with this very, very brute force machine, it's quite something to behold here.
And Dean Veller then, we've just been confirmed by the stewards, will be picking up a 10-second penalty for causing an avoidable incident that involved Rainer Rossar earlier on in this race. So that number 54 car of Dean Veller will get a 10-second penalty added to the end of his race time. There's Silver Pyramids then, making his way through in towards this snaking S section through turn 9, onwards through turn 10, before we get towards turn 11, that long right-hand to then really test the limit of grip you have in your car and in your setup. Onwards then towards turn 12 with just 8 minutes of this race to go then. Spence-Robb still leads the way from Sheldon Muscat in 2nd place and Murcia in 3rd. And then it's a bit of a tighter fight then for 4th place. Nerverth in 4th, Jan-Niklas Erbrich in 5th. With Ashton Cox in 6th, you're watching Silver Pyramids then making his way through the field, or at least trying to, through the final corner. He's got Ashton Cox there for 6th place in his view. It's about who can get onto the power better, who's more efficient through the final corner. Well, Silver Pyramids will have a little bit of slipstream then down the start-finish straight towards turn 1. I think Ashton Cox just has that racing line. He's going to stick with it, and he's rewarded for doing so. Silver Pyramids thought about a move up the inside, but then tucks back into the racing line just to be sure. He's saying, not yet, not yet.
Yeah, very difficult, of course. Well, how to say this best? Ashton Cox, of course, he has the Ferrari, which is a very accurate and fast machine, but, well, the Nissan, of course, you could basically call it the original and Japanese version of the Bentley, so to say, because both of them are very, very big cars with a lot of power that you can just throw into corners and they will just stick with it. So it's really just interesting to see what will just prevail in this battle. Ooh, and that is not going to prevail at all.
It's not at all. Matthias Helbrecht lighting up the rear tyres, and he finds the inside Armco on the exit of turn 1. Does he get going again, I wonder? We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Not at this moment in time, but we'll have to wait and see. Yes, he does get going again as he makes his way onwards then towards turn 2. So at least he'll be trying to see the checkered flag in this race. Pirmitz will be hoping the checkered flag comes soon because he's under pressure then from Markek for 7th place as they make their way to the short run towards turn 12. There's contact between them. Big crash then for Silver Pirmitz as Markek runs into the back of that Nissan then, and he has to rejoin then, does Silver Pirmitz all the way down the order. But a huge moment then for the Nissan, hitting the wall hard.
Way too late on the switchover then. Of course, it's a very popular move to do in that corner because you just want to be on the inside. You want to have the better run over that inside curb. But Madus Markek just way too late. Way too late on that switchover. Hits the rear end of Silver Pirmitz and that Nissan just completely flying into the outside wall there.
Yeah, big crash then for the Nissan of Silver Pirmitz. Meanwhile, then we just saw then Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Nice move then on Nerberth. That's up into 4th place as he now makes his way through turn 3 and up the hill then towards turn 4. And he's, let's see, the gap between himself and a podium position of Murcia then. It's around 4 seconds, which with 5 minutes to go is going to be a really tough order then. Let's have a look at a replay then. This is on board with Matas Markek, making our way through in towards turn 11. You can see he gets a much better run through 11 then. And as you rightfully said, Nico, just a little bit too late on the switchback, makes contact with the back of Pirmitz. And for Pirmitz, he's simply just a passenger.
Absolutely nothing he could have done differently there, and well, just regrettably, just couldn't quite get it stopped. Oh well, with the momentum that he had there, just couldn't keep it out of the wall either. So yeah, hopefully he's just going to be able to carry on without being impeded too much. Now our eyes on Jan-Niklas Erbrich though. It's 4 minutes 30 seconds to go, and it's 3.8 seconds towards Michael Mecher, and he's actually a direct competitor, direct rival to him, because both of them, they are very close in the points, with only 6 points separating them. And of course, we had them with very different positions. So now I think it's in Erbrich's best interest to try and get closer to Mechia, to try and finish ahead of him, or just limit it to this 1 point of loss.
Yes, there you can see Jan-Niklas Erbrich then braking hard in towards turn 1. 3.4 seconds is the gap between himself and Murcia. Well, it's going to be tough to close in that gap, but he's trying to prove that it's not going to be impossible. David Ohak looking for a move on the inside of Kirsten Abeya going in towards turn 1. Does it force Kirsten Abeya to take a later braking line? It does, he's really put under pressure then. He's feeling the heat from the Bentley behind as we make our way now onwards towards turn 2. David Ohak thinks about a move up the inside into turn 2. Once again, Kirsten Abeya runs deep into 2. He'll have the inside for 3 here, but will he have the momentum to go with it? Just about, as David Ohak has to run off the track, round the outside, cuts the grass to make sure he gets back on track, and he's now got the inside line for turn 4. Anchors on into 4, and he's got the move done then. Kirsten Abeya runs wide this time around into 5. Now he's under pressure from Dean Vella, who swoops around the outside to take that position away from him. And in the space of a couple of corners, it is David Ohak who finds his way through, and Kirsten Abeya falls now down to 12th place. Stewards have also said that the number 54 car will be receiving a 10-second penalty for causing a collision with the number 690. So that is Dean Vella on Reina Rissart, so that's going to be added to the end of his race. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards make of any other instance in this race. Of course, any penalty will be added to the end of this race because this is the last race of tonight. Ashton Cox then trying to hold on now for 6th place. He's under pressure from Matas Markek then. With only 2.5 minutes to go of this race, Markek tries to move up the inside. It's a very tight line into 14 there. But if you stay close to the inside, and stay as close as you can to the Armco, you can really take advantage of a much cleaner run and a much better chance of finding the apex. There you can see the McLaren going left, going right. He'll go to the inside line then, the left-hand side of your screens, but has to back out of that one. Ashton Cox just about does enough then to hold on to that position.
very, very close there, but very good defensive drive from Ashton Cox. He will most definitely be happy that his Wi-Fi went back up, and so that his chances to get some more good points. But Marek, now of course, he will now also, I think we actually get this as well. Yes, that's a 10-second penalty for that little incident there that we had with Silver Pyramids. And also, actually, next battle here, that's Michael Peresada against the completely demolished pink car of Rainer SR. And, well, honestly, just fantastic drive from Ressar to just keep that car even on track, and then additionally to that, move it, well, above last place as well.
Yeah, he's done a superb job of just trying to make sure he recovers as much as he possibly can. Spence Rob, meanwhile, is going to cross the line in a couple of moments' time to start the final lap of this race. And every race that passes for the team Boatley Bentley here at the Hungaroring, he gets a bigger and bigger lead on his second place rival. It's just been an absolutely stunning display from Spence Rob. And so goes the way if you don't see a lot of your race leader in any race, it's normally a good sign. It means you've been doing everything under the radar, nothing's really gone wrong, and with a gap like 10.5 seconds under your belt, if anything were to go wrong, it's likely not going to make a huge impact. It just has to go another 4 kilometers now to take the checkered flag for a hat-trick of victories here, and the first hat-trick ever at World Pro Racing Mega Sprint Tuesdays. It'll be 3 of a kind for sure. Sheldon Muscat in second place, and it's moments away from making that pattern true. 4th place in race 1. 3rd place in race 2, and currently 2nd place in race number 3. It's not often patterns get to be established and then get completed by the driver, and Sheldon Muscat will be feeling this. It's a very, very good day. There's Mikael Murcia. It's been a tough day for him, but fair play to him. He's kept on going, he's kept his head down, and currently occupying that last podium spot. Rainer Assar and Michael Peresada are going to battle hard then for 13th place. Remember, every position, as long as you make it to the end, counts as points, and 1 point increments between them. 13th could be all the difference between them in the championship standings. Rassard trying to defend the inside line going in towards turn 2. Meanwhile, Ashton Cox having to defend from Markek. And Ashton Cox, no matter what really happens here between those drivers, he's going to hold on to that position because Markek has 10 seconds worth of penalties and Slovanac has 5. So he doesn't have to battle too hard for it. But here comes Spence Rob then around the final corner for the final time tonight to take the checkered flag. It's 3 of a kind, 3 of the best from Spence Rob. He takes his hat-trick of wins here in race number 2, in night number 2 of Mega Sprint Tuesdays. Sheldon Muscat completes the pattern, 4th in race 1, 3rd in race 2, and now 2nd in race number 3. Mikael Murcia, it has been a tough day for him, but he's grabbed that last podium spot, then 3rd place for Murcia Racing then in that Aston Martin. Jan-Niklas Erbrek recovers to 4th place after a very, very eventful first corner. Wojciech Neuwirth grabs 5th place in this race, and Ashton Cox are going to hold on then for 6th place, but it's a sprint to the line. Markek pips Slovanac to that place by 5 thousandths of a second. Yes, it's going to be changed by penalties, but who cares? With a gap like that, they raced as hard as they could all the way to the line. Silver Pyramids in 9th place, David Ohak in 10th, Dean Vella in 11th place, but that will be affected by penalties applied at the end of the race. Kirsten Abeya in 12th. There's Rainer Rissar, which I have to say, the spirit is well and truly there. Through turn 13 and onwards towards turn 14, he's driven his heart out here. Heart on his sleeve all the way through this race. Exiting turn 14 and grabbing 13th place as he takes the checkered flag, with Peresada grabbing 14th place, the last of the finishers on the lead lap. But 3 in a row here, completing the first ever World Pro Racing Mega Sprint Tuesday hat-trick. All 3 races won, 90 points on the board. It's safe to say I think I know who our championship leader is going to be heading into next time around.
Yeah, definitely so. And I'd also say not just a hat-trick, but possibly also a Grand Slam, because pole position, and I'd be willing to bet, you know, with how everything went really error-free for him, probably fastest laps in all 3 of the races, and then, you know, also obviously the wins. So what a drive from Spence Rob this time around, and well, can only be applauded. And of course, especially in these very challenging conditions here, with almost 20 cars on the Hungaroring in these, well, in comparison to Formula cars, you know, a little bit more difficult to maneuver around here, I think.
A little more difficult, I think, is a slight understatement there, Nico, but I know exactly what you mean. These cars have been through the wars, at least apart from Reece Spence Rob's car. That seems to have been relatively clean through all 3 races, but lots of incidents and lots to unpackage into turn 1 of race number 3. And what we originally thought was Slovenac missing his braking point, it was actually James Mead who caused that Constantina effect into 1.
Yeah, quite big accident, of course, and that is just the big danger in hairpins like turn 1 there. You just really want to make up all the time possible, and you just have to hit one person a little bit wrong, and you can cause something like that immediately. And, of course, very big crash, and then, of course, James Mead also getting caught out by the results of that. But, honestly, everyone through that carried on, everyone gave their best, and, honestly, especially with the example of Jan-Niklas Erbel, who almost went on to almost catch Michael Mercier back. That was just an absolutely fantastic drive, and, you know, the determination just absolutely not stopping.
No, and that's a huge thing for Mega Sprint Tuesdays, is the determination, the grit to keep on going, because there's only 1 point increments for each finishing position. So if you find yourself 5 places, 6 places down, sure, it's the 6 points you've lost, but that can so easily be gained by a good run of wins and good run of podiums. And for one of them, for the Team Boatley Bentley of Reece Spence, I mean, it's a fantastic display from him. 3 wins, 90 points. There's not a lot more he could have done better.
Absolutely not, and I think, quite honestly, well, consistency is key, and I think, quite honestly, he found the key, he kept the key in his very nice little locket, or just in a chain around his around his neck for the entire race, and, well, carried it to the finish line. Absolutely fantastic drive from no foot put wrong, and, well, the biggest car on track at this very narrow circuit proved to be the best choice here.
I have to say a big shout out as well to Sheldon Muscat, because I mean that was solid driving. Race 1 and 2 proved he knows where to place the car and how to defend. And race number 3, well, he did have his own little race then for 2nd place, but he did manage to complete what was a very promising pattern at the end of race 2. It's not often you get to spot in a pattern like that and then it actually ends with the pattern being still intact. It was a great performance from him today.
Absolutely, I have to agree with that. And, well, honestly, in the Honda as well, you know, we saw in the middle between the races, you know, he really loves that Honda. He likes when the VTEC kicks in. And, quite honestly, you know, just everything considered, though, it really is the underdog car, you know. Just like what Toto Wolff says at the start of every F1 season, you know, we're the underdogs, but for the Honda it actually applies. So it's really great to see a car like that just performing at the absolute top of performance with Sheldon Scott Muscat. So amazing drive from him today as well.
And Muscat obviously likes to take a car that maybe no one else would think about picking, and with the Honda today, I mean, let's take your point of view, Nico. The Honda around the Hungaroring, is it a worthy choice to have?
I honestly have to say I wouldn't say so. Like, the Ferrari is the pure power house to do. The McLaren is very fast because it's very good for through these mid-speed and high-speed corners. The Honda I wouldn't normally pick because there's just not long enough straights to make it work properly. So just definitely not the popular choice, but definitely, you know, for the spectators, I think great to see diversity, and even greater for Sheldon Scott Muscat to see those results at the end.
Absolutely. And one more driver we will talk about before we get to our interviews, Jan-Niklas Erbel. Wow, it was a patchy day. There were performances here and there. There were incidents he was caught up in, but a pretty strong showing considering what happened.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think he's just one of the guys, you know, if you're going to hit him, you have to take him down completely in one blow, otherwise he's going to go down swinging. And absolutely the proof of that was just the last race. Gets hit around, has to wait completely for the entire field pretty much, which half of it got caught up in the same accident, just until the very end, and then just makes it almost back up to the top 3, and just absolutely amazing drive from him. Second race, also very good recovery from him after some complications at the start. And obviously, of course, you know, 2nd place in the first race, so very good run from him today.
And don't forget as well, he got caught up in turn 1, race number 3 as well. That big starting crash then at the very beginning of race number 3. But I can tell you right now that after the results have all been confirmed, the top three in the championship looks a little bit like this. Jan-Nicolas Erbrich in third place, Sheldon Muscat in second, and surprise, surprise, it's Rhys Spence Robb at the top of the field, at the pointy end of the standings. So we'll first then talk to third place man in the standings, in Jan-Nicolas Erbrich. Jan-Nicolas, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Nicholas, well, a tough day for you. It was a bit of a mixed bag of results then, but second place in your first race and a couple of incidents packed in between. How would you rate today yourself?
Can I say that word? I don't think so. No, it was. Yeah, it was not so good, not a good day because yeah, the qualifying I messed up my last 2 laps, which are the fastest ones because the tires are up to temperature. Yeah, that could have gotten me into second place from the starting grid. Yeah, the first race was good. We took 2 guys at the very beginning. Yeah, but then the races after that, I don't know. I'm kind of used to it to get hit from behind and yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk especially about race 3, turn 1, because it looked like multiple cars were caught up in that. Just all it took was one car missing his braking spot, and it caused a concertina effect into one. I mean, let's have your point of view, because you were the ones who were kind of facing the wrong way out of turn 1.
Yeah, it was a bit weird because we were braking and everyone was doing really good. Oh, sorry. Yeah, everyone was doing really good at the braking zone, but yeah, then someone just smashed me into the side and sadly also smashed David Ohak, yeah, who suffered more from that than I did. Yeah, from there on I just gave it everything. Yeah, few drivers were a bit too, yeah, fought a bit too hard in front of me. They, yeah, so one guy spun 2 guys around. Was a bit weird. Yeah, but it was really nice. I got up to speed and I was faster than in my first race with 10 seconds damage. It was a bit weird.
Yeah, a bit weird indeed. But as I said, a mixed bag of results then. In terms of how you can do at the Hungaroring, would you walk away from this saying it was a good day or maybe something lacking?
Yeah, pace-wise it was a good day. Performance-wise on this day, yeah, it was bad. There would have been a few points. Could have gotten, yeah, a few points more.
Well, yeah, Nicholas, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. The floor is yours for any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank.
Yeah, shout out to David Owak. Maybe we have more luck in the Friday race.
Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Jan Nicholas. Enjoy third place in the standings, and we'll hopefully speak to you again very, very soon.
Yes.
And Nico, who have you got then?
I've got Sheldon Scott Muscat here, the second place man for today. And Sheldon, are you there?
Hello? Yep.
There we are.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted. Good evening, guys.
Right, first of all, congratulations to a fantastic race day today. But I think I have to ask the question first, which everyone was asking themselves as soon as they saw you on screen in the standings. Why the Honda?
Something different, maybe. I lacked pace in qualifying. I made a mistake in the second lap. I was 3 turns down, something like that, and I went off track, of course, and I invalidated it. But I think in the race I did pretty good. Yeah.
One could say so, you know, just improved from race to race, 4th with a fantastic defensive drive, then 3rd, and then 2nd, and just constantly kept improving. But yeah, just it was seeming like, you know, the really underdog choice, but it really did work out for you. Did you have a setup for that, or like you have just extensive experience with that car?
I have a setup, but I still need to work on it because it's not cooperating with my inputs, basically. Yeah, but race 3, I was very lucky there because I went down the outside, I think, yeah, turn 1, and I avoided everyone and was like P2 already, so that was quite lucky, but well done to Rhys Spence Robb for his unstoppable drive. I mean, I couldn't catch him. I was catching him, but there wasn't enough pace in the Honda. That's it from my end.
Yeah, so, and as you said, you know, not just fighting the other drivers on track for these 3 20-minute races, but also fighting the car. So quite impressive stuff from you there. Do you want to do any shout-outs?
Yeah, of course. Before I leave, I would like to thank my team sponsors, GT Omega Racing, Gaming Malta, HyperX, and World Pro Racing for these the best events, I think, because I love the sprint races. It keeps you on edge, you know, and it shows the best out of every driver. And also my family for the constant support that they have given me.
Always wonderful to hear. So here you have it, Kieran. We're back to you.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you for talking to us, Sheldon, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And now we'll come to our championship leader. No surprise, he was joint leader in the championship before tonight, and 90 points does him the world of good in those standings. Reese, can you hear us?
Guys, got you here.
Reese Spence Robb, 3 wins in a row, master of the Hungaroring. Talk us through it. I mean, you made it look easy out there.
Yeah, the car tonight was just incredible. It felt like it was on rails the whole way through qualifying, and even after making a little mistake, I think I invalidated lap 1 and lap 3, but lap 2 was good enough to get that pole position, and I knew I needed to get that around here to be able to make some indents, just because it's so difficult to pass around here. The game plan was exactly what I did, was just to try and get off from pole, and just try and run away with it and just get as many points as possible. Just see how far we could get through the championship. But yeah, it was just a brilliant night all round for me. No mistakes from my end, which is quite rare. But yeah, as I said, the car was driving amazingly. Somehow the setup just played amazingly tonight as well.
And you said you set out tonight to score as many points as possible. That's exactly what you did. You scored the maximum available points, and it's a very healthy lead you'll have at the top of the standings. I mean, just talk to us. I mean, when you're in a race of your own and everything happens behind you, how do you keep your focus for that long, in multiple races?
It's quite a tricky one to answer. It's just about getting into that groove and getting into that rhythm. I think on race number 3, and where everyone, I mean, I saw the melee behind me, and I just tried to drive off, and luckily we didn't get clipped in that, and you know, unfortunately the guys behind me got taken out. So some luck at the end of the day, some luck did come into it as well. Obviously it's just one of those things. It's some weeks it goes your way, some weeks it probably won't. So yeah, just as I said, just trying to pace myself and just getting those consistent laps, just trying to run the same line each and every lap and not make mistakes. And yeah, it just, at the end of the day, it proved to be the thing that yeah, gave me the wins at the end. So massively happy on my end.
Yeah, well, the team Boatley Bentley on rails like a train. It's fantastic to speak to you there, Reese. Congratulations, you're currently leading the championship. We'll leave you to shout out any sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Just once again, just back to my team, Team Odyssey. All the guys, again, you know, they're amazing. All their hard work, week in, week out. And also to you guys as well for putting these events on. You know, really gives us a good show, and we try and make it as entertaining as possible. So yeah, big shout out to you guys as well for putting these on.
Well, thank you very much, Reese. Enjoy your 3 race wins and the championship lead. It's been fantastic to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
And Nico, it's time for us to sort of wrap up tonight here. We've seen some pretty dramatic action all the way through. We've seen one driver run away with all 3 races, but for the rest of the order, it was anyone's game.
Absolutely, and quite honestly, at the start of all of this, I would have thought the Ferraris would bring a better showing, because normally I wouldn't get the idea to bring, well, a Bentley, which is, in comparison to the other, a dump truck, to a karting track, so to say. But it did work out brilliantly, so, you know, who am I to criticize that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed the action here tonight. Just want to say thank you to our sponsors of AMD, HyperX, GT Omega, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta, and Visit Malta.com. And wherever you've been watching, whether it's on esports television, motorsport TV, TVM Sport, perhaps you've been watching on YouTube and Twitch. If you have been doing the 2 latter ones, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow so you don't miss another event at World Pro Racing. If you fancy your chances at trying to find some races, maybe you've never tried it before, well, luckily for you, the Rookie Series has just been announced at that stepping stone for helping you get into multiplayer a little bit more and help you on your journey to competitive racing. Or maybe you're beyond that. Maybe you want some more experience out on track. Of course, we have 2 GT4 championships all the way over at worldproracing.com. We have the Alpine GT4 championship on R Factor 2, and we also have the AMD GT4 series on Assetto Corsa Competizione. And as well as that, make sure you are following us, because we've got, once again, the return of the HyperX Open Series. We'll have that for you very, very soon. And I know everyone's excited about the ACC Sprint Series Season number 3. Applications are pretty much closed. There's no more slots available. That's just how popular it is. But from myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Nico alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring these races to you, and we'll hopefully see you again very, very soon. Until then, take care of yourselves, and we will see you very soon. Good night.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.